The Targaryen dynasty united the Seven Kingdoms and lasted nearly 3 centuries.
This is Jamie.
It was a dynasty forged in fire, sealed in blood,
This is
destroyed by rebellion.
So these are the okay.
The Targaryens are blood of the dragon, descended from the nobility of ancient Valyria, a once mighty empire in the east. When the cataclysmic doom laid waste to Valyria and its people, the Targaryens survived, having settled on the island fortress of Dragonstone years before. They remained there for a century, until the rise of Aegon the Conqueror.
Aegon,
Instead of attempting to reclaim the eastern lands of his ancestors...
Hold on, boy. Yeah, let me turn on the
Aegon sailed west for the Seven Kingdoms, his sisters Visenya and Rhaenys at his side. To keep the bloodlines pure, Aegon continued the custom of his Valyrian ancestors and took both of his sisters to wife.
What? So it's incest.
They came ashore on the eastern coast of Westeros.
So incest has been a dominant freaking shit in this show. My boy says to keep the blood pure.
Their blazon, a dragon with 3 heads, representing Aegon and his sister wives.
Wow.
Their words, fire and blood. While their host was small in comparison to the armies of Westeros that awaited them, Aegon and his sisters had a secret weapon. The last of the dragons.
So is this
He conquered every kingdom save Dorne, which eventually bowed to Targaryen rule a century later. He had the swords of his enemies melted down by the fiery breath of his dragon, Valerion the Black.
And that's what created the
forged
freaking
into the
Iron Throne. Okay.
The capital city of King's Landing was built on the eastern coast, where Aegon and his sisters first came ashore. And Aegon ordered the construction of a royal castle on its highest hill, the Red Keep.
Okay, so basically, that's where all of the action that's happening in King's Landing. That's the Red Keep. Okay.
For 300 years, the Targaryen dynasty stayed strong in the face of rebellion, civil war, and plague. But the line of Dragon Kings was broken when my father, Aerys Targaryen, the second of his name, was overthrown in rebellion.
This is Viserys speaking right here. I thought it was fucking Jaime. He sung like Jaime. This is Viserys. Bro, I'm sorry. Viserys is who is speaking right here. Oh, well, Aerys Targaryen II was overthrown in rebellion. That's when
My
Lannister
father was betrayed and slaughtered by Sir Jaime Lannister, a member of his own Kingsguard. His son and heir, my brother Rhaegar, perished on the field of battle at the hands of Robert Baratheon, who claimed the Iron Throne for himself. And so today, the only surviving members of the storied Targaryen dynasty are myself, Prince Viserys, rightful King of the Andals and ruler of the Seven Kingdoms, and my sister, Daenerys. We were spirited away to the free cities of the East by loyalists. Here we have lived in exile ever since, dreaming of a day when we will cross the narrow sea and take back my father's throne.
Bro, you fucking dead. You can't take that shit back. Yo, somebody was telling me like, Viserys and Daenerys, they weren't really like, with the whole incest vibe, but that was going to happen. Like, he was eventually going to freaking fuck his sister to keep the blood pure.
The Starks of Winterfell trace their descent to the first men in the Age of Heroes.
This is Arya.
The family's founder was Brandon the Builder, who, in the aftermath of the Long Night,
they're using the voices of the
Night's Watch. Legend has it he enlisted the aid of giants and the powerful magic of the Children of the Forest to raise the mighty wall, which has protected the realm for generations. He went on to build the ancestral seat of Winterfell and reigned as the first king in the north.
The Starks reigned as kings for thousands of years, even withstanding the invasion of the Andals. As the southern kingdoms fell and the Children of the Forest were driven away, the north stood strong, maintaining its religious customs and its way of life. Eventually, the reign of the Kings of Winter came to an end with the coming of Aegon the Conqueror.
Yeah, my boy,
After Aegon and his dragons destroyed the combined armies of the Reach and the Rock at the Field of Fire, King Torrhen Stark bent the knee and swore fealty to the Targaryen dynasty in order to spare the destruction of Winterfell and his people. he was forever after known as the King Who Knelt. As a reward for his submission, Aegon named Torrhen Lord of Winterfell and Warden of the North.
Torrhen.
The Starks take great pride in their history and traditions. It is one of the few noble houses that still keeps the old gods. A sacred weirwood tree looms large in Winterfell's godswood.
Okay.
Its ancestral sword, Ice, was forged in ancient Valyria and has been passed down through the generations.
That's the same sword
House
that...
Stark remains steadfast in its support of the Night's Watch, even as the once illustrious order has fallen on hard times. Much like their sigil, the Grey Direwolf, House Stark is the stuff of legend in the north and throughout the Seven Kingdoms. And their family words, winter is coming.
Winter is
A
coming!
reminder of their beginnings in the wake of the long night, and a grim portent of things to come.
Yo, so the freaking Targaryens are the one who freaking fucked up everything.
On the far western coast of the continent, high atop a rocky promontory overlooking the Sunset Sea,
Who's this?
sits Casterly Rock, ancestral seat of House Lannister.
Is this Tywin?
Below it lies Lannisport, one of the great cities of Westeros, a centre for trade, culture, and the great Lannister fleet. There are a number of gold and silver mines in the Westerlands, making it the richest region in all of Westeros. One of the most productive mines lies beneath Casterly Rock itself, making House Lannister the wealthiest of all the noble houses.
Wow.
This allows House Lannister to finance many endeavors of other noble houses.
So that's basically why they want so
King
rich.
himself has sought credit from Casterly Rock from time to time. We Lannisters claim our descent from the Andal invaders, and through the female bloodline, Lann the Clever. According to the legend, Lann, using only his wits, won Casterly Rock from the noble House of Casterly during the Age of Heroes. The Lannisters reigned as kings of the Rock for thousands of years,
Lannister.
and worked to make it the envy of the rest of the Seven Kingdoms.
Yeah, everybody would fucking hate you
Our
guys.
time as kings ended, however, when Aegon Targaryen, otherwise known as Aegon the Conqueror,
So Aegon
arrived
is
in
the
Westeros
fucking
with his
top
army.
dog.
The last king of the Rock, King Lorin Lannister, joined forces with King Mern Gardner, the king of the
King
Reach.
Mern.
Together, with 60,000 men, they met the Targaryen host in open battle.
And they fucking lost.
History tells us that Aegon unleashed all 3 of his dragons, slaughtering
Christ.
4,000 men at what came to be known as the Field of Fire.
Field of Fire.
King Mern himself was burned alive that day, and House Gardner turned to ash with him.
Wow.
Seeing both the threat and opportunity the Targaryens represented, Lorin wisely surrendered and aided Aegon in his further conquest of Westeros.
That was a smart move.
The Lannisters were thus appointed Lords Paramount of the Westerlands and Wardens of the West, titles we hold to this day.
Yeah, so that's how they got the fucking famous
Let
name.
us be clear, though. It is neither luck nor royal favor that makes our house prosperous.
Was it?
There have been times in our history where some have thought us weak, lazy, or opulent. My father, Titus Lannister, nearly
Titus.
bankrupted our house with his poor investments, and allowed himself to be mocked openly at court.
Wow.
When our vassal, the Rains of Castamere, dared to rise up against
The lion. This is their sigil, the
how
lion.
dangerous it can be to taunt a lion. I, Tywin Lannister, led the assault on Castamere to put down this rebellion. I made an example of them, to anyone who doubts our might.
Never doubts the
They
fucking...
even made
Yo!
a quaint song about the fates of the Rains of Castamere. Sadly, there are no Rains left to hear it.
Fuck, they might kill
Today, the
everyone!
Golden Lion of Lannister is rightly admired and feared throughout the Seven Kingdoms. Our words are, hear me roar.
Hear me roar.
But there are other words that should be remembered when
Lannister.
crossing a Lion of Casterly.
Lannister always pays their debt.
A Lannister always pays his debts.
Bro! Yo! You're finding out... This is sick.
Ours is the fury. These are the words of the Black Stag of Baratheon.
This is Robert.
A battle cry echoed throughout the land in rebellion when I, Robert Baratheon, the first of his name, seized the Iron Throne from the Mad King Aerys Targaryen,
my voice
ending a dynasty nearly 300 years old.
Wow.
House Baratheon was born in the Wars of Conquest, when Aegon the Dragon invaded Westeros. Aegon sent his commander, Orys Baratheon, to take Storm's End.
Orys.
Argilac the Arrogant, the last of the Storm Kings, foolishly left the safety of his stronghold and met the Baratheon warlord in open battle. Argilac was soundly defeated, and Orys took his lands, his holdings, and his daughter.
Jesus Christ.
Orys was said to be a half-brother to Aegon Targaryen.
Huh?
If this were true, a little blood of the dragon mingled with that of the stag in those days. The seat of House Baratheon is Storm's End, a legendary keep raised in the Age of Heroes. It overlooks Shipbreaker's Bay, where legend has it that Durin, the first Storm King, raised the keep with the aid of Bran the Builder of House Stark, forging a centuries-long connection with the Stormlands and the North. After Aegon's conquest of the Seven Kingdoms, the Baratheons remained loyal enough to the crown, while Targaryen kings came and went.
And they just say in the background.
Loyalty has its limits.
Yeah, they was just there in the background, so that's why the man fucking say what he...
His vile son and heir abducted Lyanna Stark, my betrothed, my beloved.
He had to go.
To act.
Ha!
We raised our banners, Baratheon, Stark, Jon Arryn, and the Tullys, united in rebellion against Rhaegar and his father, the Mad King.
Jon Arryn. That's the hand of the previous king.
Took the Iron Throne. That bit of dragon blood in my veins came in well, as it made me a distant relation to the Targaryen dynasty blood of my long-lost ancestor, Orys.
Orys.
The truth of it is, I took it. I sit on the Iron Throne.
Come on.
I rule the Seven Kingdoms.
Yeah, my boy, I got the seat. Ha! Robert! Too bad you got to fucking die, bro.
House Tyrell trace our descent
House
to guard
Tyrell.
Greenland, the legendary first king of the Reach.
Oh, that's Catelyn. That's Catelyn.
But so too does every noble house around us. It seems dear ancestor Garth planted as many flowers as he plucked.
Yeah, this seems like a more peaceful place.
For his line, don't you think? For over 1,000 years, the Green Hand's sons and grandsons ruled the Reach as House Gardener. The offshoots of his daughters grew into vast and powerful houses in their own right, except for House Tyrell. We chose instead to serve our Gardener cousins faithfully as stewards.
Yeah, this is peace.
To
this
manage
is more
their
peaceful, you know?
Highgarden and the daily affairs of the Reach. Our words are growing strong.
Growing strong.
And under our stewardship, the Reach did just that. As did we. Until a blundering king almost cost us everything.
Bro! Aegon! Yo, my boy, just...
in Westeros. King Mern allied us with the Rock to repel the upstart's army. One can only marvel that King Mern did not reconsider when he saw the living dragons against him.
Yeah, he got fucked up that same day.
He should have sought counsel from his trusted stewards before he set out.
That's what...
Then again, perhaps he did.
So that's basically what they were saying with friggin' the Greyjoy as like a bad investment for going forward in war. He saw that, yo, what the fuck? Dragons? And we still going? Nah, turn back.
At the Field of Fire, Aegon, and let us not forget, his sisters, burnt the combined armies of the Reach and Rock. King Mern paid for his misjudgment with his life and that of his ancient family.
Hang up there, dog.
In a day, the Reach had lost its king, its ruling house, and most of its army. Thankfully for everyone, my ancestor, Harlan Tyrell, had better sense. Until the Maesters sorted out the entail among Mern's cousins, Harlan the Steward was acting Lord of Highgarden. To ensure peace and life in the Reach, he would yield the castle to Aegon. The other castles and families would then follow, as they had since the Dawn Age. Aegon had a continent to conquer, and the fertile Reach was too valuable to raise. He accepted Harlan's proposal and welcomed our lands into his kingdom. To show his gratitude, Aegon entitled Harlan to Highgarden, the castle his family had served for 1,000 years,
basically a delegate.
and made House Tyrell his wardens of the south, choosing us over older, greater families in the Reach.
Wow.
Our house thus owed everything to the Targaryens. So is it any wonder we stayed true to King Aerys, even during his madness, and even after Robert Baratheon rebelled?
Wow.
Some may question my father for laying siege to the Baratheons' home, instead of marching to aid Prince Rhaegar before Robert could kill him and scatter the royal army. But let us not forget that we had already dealt Robert his only defeat of the war at Ashford. If Lord Tywin Lannister had not vanquished the Mad King so suddenly, our siege would have destroyed Robert's home and his brothers and won the war for Aerys. But when the Targaryens fell, House Tyrell again chose peace and prosperity over war and devastation, and bent the knee to King Robert Baratheon.
Yeah, it's a more peaceful fucking place.
We returned to Highgarden to manage the affairs of the Reach, as we had for thousands of years, and will for 1,000 more. Other great houses take lions and wolves for their sigils, and draw their power from the gold in their mountains or the cold of their winters.
It's fish, no?
But mountains run dry. Winter yields to spring. And the rose blooms once more.
Rose petal. I'm saying fish like a fucking cod. And it's a rose petal.
In the snow-capped mountains of the moon, standing high above the rich lands of the Vale, stands the Eyrie. A storied and impregnable fortress, said to have been built by the legendary Mountain King.
This is
the Age of Heroes.
Catelyn. This is where Catelyn.
It is the stronghold of House Arryn, one of the oldest noble families in
Catelyn and her sister. This is where Catelyn and her sister.
Sigil, a soaring falcon over a crescent moon. Their words as high as honor.
So who the one was speaking? Who's the lady who was speaking before? I couldn't catch her voice. This is Catelyn speaking right now.
The Arryns are direct descendants of the Andal invaders, who sailed across the narrow sea and came ashore at the Fingers. According to legend, Sir Artus Arryn, known as the Winged Knight, soared through the sky atop a giant falcon, landing on the peak of the highest mountain, where he defeated the Griffin King in battle.
Griffin King.
It was the Andal's first great victory over the First Men, and Sir Artus was duly rewarded. He was declared King of the Mountain and the Vale, and the region was renamed the Vale of Arryn.
Vale of Arryn. So this is where Jon Arryn came from.
Aegon the Conqueror arrived in Westeros.
Fuck.
House Arryn bent the knee to Aegon and his dragons, and were allowed to maintain the control of the region as Lords Paramount of the Vale and Wardens of the East.
Wardens of the East.
Over the centuries, House Arryn remained loyal to the Targaryen dynasty, until Lord Jon Arryn joined with houses Baratheon and Stark
to take
in
over.
rebellion against Mad King Aerys. Upon winning the Iron Throne, Robert named Lord Jon Hand of the King, a position he held until his mysterious death.
Hey, he got fucking poisoned, man.
Unbowed, unbent, unbroken. The words of House Martell. A promise to our enemies and a challenge to our lovers.
House Martell.
Thousands of years ago, the warrior queen Nymeria crossed into Dorne from Essos, fleeing the dragon lords of Validia. After she landed, she burned her ships.
Who's speaking here?
Of them, so no cowards could slink home.
I know the voice, but I can't fucking...
Woman. Dornish in spirit before she ever was in flesh.
Yo, Mrs.
She was lucky to land in Dorne, where powerful women are not locked away in septs and the beds of old men. My ancestor Mors Martell saw her and desired her, and proved that where armies fail, a tongue may succeed. Wedding his strength to hers, his spear to her son, they subdued all his rivals together. After the tradition of her people, House Martell then ruled Dorne as princes, not kings. Unless the eldest child was a daughter, For unlike the rest of Westeros, our loyalty isn't commanded by a cock.
Boy!
We follow a prince or a princess Martell, just
Wow.
the same. And we always have. Some people forget that Aegon Targaryen crowned himself Lord of 6 kingdoms, not 7. When his sister marched on Dorne, she found no mighty hosts drawn up against her for her dragon to burn and her soldiers to slaughter.
Wow.
The sands swirled, men died, and her dragon saw nothing. The sun shone, men died, and her dragon bowed to our greater fire. The Targaryens retreated with their tails tucked between their legs. Of course, in later years, his descendants would try again. Daeron the First succeeded at great cost and reigned in Dorne for a few glorious months. One night, his steward pulled down a sash by his bed to summon his consorts. Instead, the canopy split open and 100 red scorpions fell on him. He was a Tyrell. You would think he would be used to getting stung.
Oh.
Within a fortnight, House Martell again ruled a free Dorne.
Wow.
Eventually, after centuries of courtship, House Martell got into bed with the Targaryens. We took King Daeron II and his sister for our own before they could take each other, and 6 kingdoms became 7.
7.
Even now, I do not blame my ancestors. One look at those long, silver locks. It is not every day a man gets to ride a dragon.
Oh, fuck.
But they soon learned that
Yo!
you can't leap off a dragon at will. My sister Elia, she married Prince Rhaegar Targaryen and became the princess she already was. In Dorne, she walked among vipers, and none would bite her. In King's Landing, she found herself surrounded by lions. When Robert Baratheon rebelled against his rightful king, his future father-in-law, Tywin Lannister, ordered his beast, Gregor Clegane, to rape and murder my sister, along with her helpless children. And men called the Lannisters heroes.
That's fucked,
now,
bro.
Lannisters sit on the Iron Throne, surrounded by the blasted swords of Aegon's broken foes. I wonder if they remember, as I do, that none of those swords are ours.
Yeah,
I wonder if they see, as I do, my sister's red blood soaking into the stone.
Because they never conquered that fucking land.
Maybe they need reminding. The lion may be a mighty beast, but pride always lifts his gaze to the horizon, never seeing in the grass the viper.
The viper.
Other houses chose dragons, krakens, and lions for their sigils. We Tullys took
fish.
The trout.
Sure.
That most terrifying of fish, especially when it leaps out of the water. I suppose you don't have many options when you live in the Riverlands.
Who's speaking? Who's speaking
there?
Is the guy?
Could have been minnows or wheat. After all, we make a lot of it. Though a land doesn't get as fertile as ours just by water. The old river kings, storm kings, and the kings of the rock spilled blood here for thousands of years, squabbling like children over a new toy, until the Ironborn came and spanked them with their axes. Under Harren the Black, their kingdom stretched all the way to the God's Eye, where they built the largest castle Westeros had ever seen. Maesters teach that Harren was a fool, but he had some sense. If you're going to enslave and torture an entire people, you best have thick walls to hide behind. But the very day the last stone was laid in Harrenhal, Aegon Targaryen landed in Westeros. As soon as he saw Aegon's host on the horizon, my ancestor Edmund led the mass desertion of riverlords to Aegon's side. I doubt Harren even noticed. The problem with huge castles is they blind you to what's outside. Both by their size and the arrogance they inspire. Not that the Ironborn ever lacked for that. They take pride in their ignorance of every trapping of civilization. Though any baker could have told them that fire turns stone walls into an oven. And so Harren the Black finally lived up to his name, and the Riverlord swept the Ironborn back to the sea. In return for Edmund's service, House Tully was made Aegon's new Lord Paramount of the Trident, and all the other lords had to swear us fealty.
Wow.
But old habits die hard. The Riverlands are and always have been the middle child of Westeros, caught up in every fart from one lord at another. My ancestors knew that for the Tullys to survive, alliances must be made. Our trout has swum up so many rivers over the centuries and leapt onto so many plates that it's a wonder half the realm's sigils don't have fins by now.
Yeah, because
Thus, every Tully child is taught family, duty, honor. The Tully words, and pains in the Tully arse.
And pains in the Tully's
arse. When I returned
arse.
from the War of the Ninepenny Kings, people called me Sir Brendan. But my older brother Hoster called me Engaged. A great match with a very rich house, to be sure. But I just fought and killed a great deal of men and had no desire to be told when and whom to marry.
Wow.
I broke ties with him, earning the name Blackfish along with my personal sigil, a much more intimidating black trout.
Blackfish, black trout.
I was too stubborn at the time to realize that while other houses fight with swords, House Tully fights with marriages. Then my niece Catelyn's betrothal to Brandon Stark drew us into the war against the Mad King, while my other niece Lysa's betrothal to John Arryn cemented the rebellion. If I'd have obeyed my older brother earlier, we'd have had the largest navy in Westeros with us then as well, and our victory would have been swift. Of course, I never mentioned this fact to my brother. He'd have taken it as an apology. My brother is dead now, and my nephew Edmure rules in Riverrun. God's help us. A trout that can't tell the worm from the hook.
Jesus Christ.
But he is a Tully, and he is unmarried, and there is a war. We all know how this story ends. Maybe she'll be beautiful. Maybe she'll be rich.
Fighting wars with marriages.
And men to House Tully, she could look like the fish we hang all over Riverrun.
It could be ugly as a trout.
And swallow it.
Oh, fuck.
One blackfish per family can be overlooked. 2, and we'd have to change all those pretty banners.
Damn. Damn!
Like the Starks, the blood of House Bolton runs back to the first man.
House Bolton.
Singers call those times the Age of Heroes.
House
a mask
Bolton.
for a savage world that bred savage men. The Lannisters swindled their enemies, the Storm Kings hammered them, and the Starks cut off their heads. In such company as this, were the Boltons really so indelicate? Unlike some other houses, my ancestors owned the Bolton words, "Our blades are sharp." They passed down not a Valyrian greatsword, but a knife, honed and thin enough to fit between the topmost layer of skin and the tissue below.
So that's the same knife that is tried to use to kill
For as we all learned as children, a naked man has few secrets, a flayed man none. In those dark days, they say that some of my more willful forebearers would even wear their enemies' skins as cloaks. But no such tokens remain, if they ever existed.
So these were the
hanging in some secret room in
these were the sneaky bastards.
Wives and fools insist.
You can tell these were the sneaky mouth.
I suspect my house itself was responsible for spreading such rumors in the first place. Few weapons are as effective as terror, and this was an age of war. House against house, brother against brother. The Iron Men were on the rise, and never far from our shores. We must have seemed ripe for the taking. Too busy fighting each other to deal with the raiders as they deserved. Thus the Starks took it upon themselves to unify the North. Under them, they drove the pirates out of White Knife and claimed the eastern coast, and married the Marsh King's daughter for the neck. The Stark wrestled for Bear Island and won.
Bear.
Or so they say.
Bear.
Silly stories.
Bear and
Blood
the freaking
steel
wolf.
won the North. The Starks had the most of both. After years of war, my ancestors gave up their barbaric practices and bent the knee to their new kings. Thus House Bolton became what we are today, loyal bannermen and staunch ally to the Starks.
Wow.
And the second greatest house in the north.
So they were basically the right-hand man for the freaking Starks.
Some houses rise to power through strength, others through wealth.
Isn't that Catelyn again?
Frey gained its title through cunning.
House Frey.
Centuries ago, its founder looked at a map and noticed how the trident spears the neck, cutting off the north from the south. He realized that a river of gold would flow to the man who owned the right bridge across the water. It took the Freys 3 generations to complete their forefathers' vision.
Wow.
A massive arch of smooth grey rock, wide enough for 2 wagons to pass abreast.
Okay. So this is the same bridge that Rob what they had to freaking cross to get to the Lannisters when they were about to fight.
They built high curtain walls, deep moats,
and Catelyn had to go over to negotiate. And they had to say, well, yeah, you have to marry this and marry that.
Ugly, formidable keeps on either bank. The twins. Commanding
the
both
twins.
road and river with arrow slits, murder holes, and portcullises. The twins ensure that no one crosses without begging the Frey's leave and paying the Frey's toll.
Okay, so...
The plan worked. The family grew rich and powerful.
So this is
exacting gold from lords, merchants, and poor farmers.
That's basically how they had to...
too, given the number of Freys the bridge has to support. The current lord, Walder Frey, has seen over 90 name days and sired near as many children, trueborn or otherwise. A shameful thing in any other lord, but Walder Frey possesses no shame.
None whatsoever.
A dangerous thing for any other lord, but Walder Frey has no concern for heirs or fear of their impatience.
Wow.
Perhaps Lord Frey thinks to outlast them all.
How can he do that?
Fighting he encourages among them. Perhaps he will.
So my boy letting them fight one another.
So well as survive. When the Ironborn conquered and razed the Riverlands, the Freys hid in their castle.
So,
when Aegon and House Tully swept the Ironborn back to their islands, the Freys hid in their castle.
Wow.
When my ancestor demanded their allegiance as Aegon's new Lord Paramount of the Trident, the Freys bent the knee from their castle.
Okay, and
perhaps then we should not have been surprised when my father, Lord Hoster Tully, called his banners against the Mad King, and Lord Walder didn't answer.
Yeah, because he pleaded allegiance to the king.
Arryns and Tullys, some of the oldest and greatest houses of Westeros, fought and bled for the cause of justice, while House Frey hid in its castle and waited. No doubt if Rhaegar had won at the Trident, Lord Walder would have given him safe passage into the north to destroy the rest of my husband's northern army for a fair price. But Rhaegar fell, and lo and behold, the Frey army appeared to render aid to our already victorious forces.
Why?
Many sniggered that Lord Walder had been waiting for his army to come of age, having fielded it out of his own britches.
A piece of shit.
My own father named him the late Lord Frey, to the other lord's amusement. A slight that pricks Lord Walder to this day.
Yeah.
In many ways, however, Lord Walder
Fuck him up
was
like
wise.
that.
We had no guarantee of victory, and had he fought with us from the outset and we failed, he would have lost the bridge his family was so proud of.
Big facts.
More pride than honor. Those should be the words of House Frey.
Yeah, keep the bridge.
Yet part of me wonders if Lord Walder waited not out of fear but hope. That we would be destroyed, leaving him to assume my family's place as Lord Paramount of the Trident.
Wow.
To buy the respect they've always wanted, but refused to earn. No. Not even Lord Walder could be so disloyal.
Oh, I said not even Lord Walder could be so disloyal. He doesn't... Yo, my boy said, boy, fuck all of you.
Glory. Lies to make idiot boys want knighthood, and idiot girls spread their legs for it.
We're speaking
here. Let me tell you what makes a knight. Killing. Either enough men or the right man. House Clegane should know.
House Clegane.
We're very good at both.
I know this person.
Most families claim some great ancestors so far back that nobody can prove them liars. Not us. my grandfather kept the kennel for Lord Titus Lannister of Casterly Rock.
Is this Brown?
The father of Lord Tywin. Lord Titus was a weak man who didn't know it. One day while hunting, he stumbled on a lioness. Instead of embracing the man who wore her on his banners, she tried to tear out his throat.
Ooh.
Lucky my grandfather came up with the dogs and drove the big cat away. As a reward, the Cleganes got lands and a keep and a son to squire for the Lannisters.
Wow.
We took the 3 hounds who died for them as our new sigil. When Tywin Lannister became Lord of Casterly Rock, he wanted more from his former kennel master than fealty.
What else he
wanted?
wanted?
He bet that training hounds to kill isn't far from training boys to kill.
Wow, he wanted armies,
In just 2
yo.
generations, my brother Gregor and I proved him right.
Gregor.
I gutted my first man at 12 years.
That's fucking... This is Brown, yeah, but didn't Brown say he killed a fucking woman?
After, servants started disappearing in our keep. And even a sister I don't remember. But nobody could prove anything against Gregor.
This is not Brown, this is Hound. This is the Hound and the fucking brother.
Or dared if they caught him at it.
Oh, why the fuck I'm so fucking slow,
For my father
bro?
wanted a knight in our family.
This is the Hound.
And thought he'd found one in
Gregor
Gregor.
and
Who at 13 towered over enough men that they called him the Mountain. Sure, Gregor looks quite the champion from a distance. But a mountain can't cleave a man in half with one blow.
Ooh.
And won't break a wench's face if she talks. Through Lord Tywin's influence, Prince Rhaegar Targaryen kindly anointed my brother personally. A great honor for our family, everyone said. 1 year later, Sir Gregor chivalrously sacked the prince's city, brained the prince's baby, and raped and murdered the prince's wife, winning our family yet more honor from the new king and queen.
Gregor.
Soon after, my father died. They say in a hunting accident. The same day that Gregor became lord of the Clegane lands, gold and anything under his roof, I left our home to take service at Casterly Rock. Lord Tywin is not like his father. Neither is King Joffrey, or the likes of me would never be on the King's Guard, with all those true knights. Between them, a man who serves the Lannisters will never lack for killing.
Wow.
I'll guard this king, such as he is. Gregor will kill the other ones, such as he does.
Wow. My boy, they were basically the freaking guardians of the
We'll see how many people still believe in songs and fairy tales.
Fuck you. Fuck the Hound and Gregor.
Bog devils.
Mudmen.
Those are just the most pleasant names our fellow northerners have for us. The Crannogmen who live in the swamps of the Neck. Because we do not live in castles like them. Because we do not farm like them. Because we are not tall or rich like them. But through our veins flows the same blood of the first men. And, at times, maybe something more. We still live much as they did, on floating islands in houses of thatch and woven reeds. We fish, hunt, and tell our children of our heroes. The knight of the laughing tree who fought in the year of the false spring. The last marsh king who challenged the Starks and lost his crown and his daughter.
Wow.
And other stories, older still, since lost to the world. The Neck was not always a swamp.
The Neck.
In the Dawn Age, it was as dry and fertile as the rest of the North. But during the war with the First Men, the children of the forest brought down the hammer of waters on the Neck, trying to break Westeros in two. When the waters finally receded, they left the bogs and swamps we know today.
Swampy roots.
Many of the First Men decided to fight on, but my ancestors wisely chose to heed the children's power and advanced no farther. They beat their swords into frog spears and fish hooks, and settled a land forever devastated by the folly of war. Unlike the rest of Westeros, we keep no garrisons and raise no soldiers for petty spats with our neighbors.
Petty spats.
Our land protects its own. An outsider will find in the Neck an endless morass of suckholes, quicksands, and green grass that looks solid to the unwary eye.
And you go and jump in.
The water the instant you tread on it.
Oh.
If you're lucky enough to be armored, you'll only drown inside your own steel. If you're not, you get to meet what swims in that water. Serpents and monstrous lizard lions with teeth like daggers and never enough to eat.
Fuck!
Don't worry. Only your horse will live long enough to feel their poisons burning through it.
Ooh.
If you somehow survive all this, you may find that a well-placed dart can be as deadly as any blade.
Oh.
Not that you'll see us blowing it your way.
Is that what was the Amazonian?
King House Reed has ruled the neck
House
beneath the
Reed.
banner of a black lizard lion on a grey-green field.
Black lizard lion.
We are not wealthy, powerful, or known even to our own countrymen. Our home, Greywater Watch, is no castle you've ever seen. And seeing it once does not mean you'll ever find it again.
Wow.
For Greywater Watch moves. Many would-be conquerors have died trying to find us.
Moves this ain't
With war all around and our Stark Lord besieged on all sides, many more will doubtless soon try. They will look at us on a map and see a stranglehold for the north.
Meet up on a lizard.
That the sea itself once entered the neck, and not all of it returned.
Crocodilians.
From the east coast of the Vale, the Fingers reach out into the narrow sea.
Fingers.
4 rocky peninsulas plagued by wind and rain,
2, 3, 4.
and barren to all but the hardiest of weeds. The ancestral home of House Baelish.
Baelish.
Our house began with my great-grandfather, a Bravosi sellsword who came to the Vale at the invitation of House Corey.
Okay.
My grandfather raised himself to the status of hedge knight, and even managed to acquire a bit of land and a keep on the smallest of the Fingers, though I do believe he often missed sleeping under his titular hedges. The only thing worse than owning a dreary and desolate land is owning only a small portion of it. Luckily, I didn't spend much time there as a child. During the War of the Ninepenny Kings, a cheap name for a cheap cause, where other men fought for the king my father fought to befriend Hoster Tully, Lord Paramount of the Trident and head of one of the oldest and greatest houses in Westeros. Thanks to my father's heroic efforts, Lord Hoster agreed to foster me at Riverrun with his own children. Until then, my whole world had been a small tower on the gull-stained rocks of the Fingers. But when I first saw the stone walls of Riverrun rising from the Trident, towering over me, back then I was a little more easily impressed. The boy in me thought the gods themselves must live in such a place. I soon learned otherwise. Lord Tully's son, Edmure, was quick to ensure I would never forget myself in their house. He nicknamed me Littlefinger, after my size and homeland, and the name was just cruel enough to stick.
Baelish.
His sisters, Lysa and Catelyn, made me a pawn in their kissing game. Traded back and forth between them for practice. Needless to say, I enjoyed spending time with them more than Edmure. As we grew older, the game began to change, as all games do. Lysa grew more bold, and Cat more demure. When Lord Tully announced Cat's betrothal to a brute from the north whom she'd never met, I realized her duty would outweigh any feelings she had for me. Fool that I was, I challenged this Brandon Stark to a duel for her hand.
Yeah.
He was a warrior, I was a boy.
Piece of
if
shit.
Cat had not
and Cat said,
intervened,
no,
he
fucking
would
kill
have
him.
me and laughed over my corpse. For my insolence, Lord Tully banished me from Riverrun.
Fuck.
No matter. I had learned everything I needed by then. I would fight my battles not with swords, but with wits, where few men could match me. Even then, House Baelish might have died out on the rocks of the Fingers.
Baelish.
I was again a poor lord, with no allies and no prospects, except, if I were lucky, the daughter of a middling merchant.
So he basically fighting wars with the mines.
The Mad King executed that Brandon Stark and incited a rebellion. My old friend, Lysa Tully, was married off to John Arryn, Lord of the Vale, to cement the alliance against the Iron Throne, bringing her within my circle again. I quickly capitalized on our former affection and persuaded her to have me appointed as controller of customs at Gulltown, the Vale's greatest port. Wars burn gold like wildfire. When I increased the port's income tenfold, her husband took notice of this lowly lord from the Fingers And when the new and profligate King Robert needed a master of coin who could find gold where no one else could, why, Lord Arryn knew just the man. Once, House Baelish had no lands, no name, and no gold. Now
so it's basically
we have
him.
a lot of each. What new rung will the next generation climb?
This cunning piece of shit.
Let us not be hasty. I'm not finished yet.
Boy, my boy say he ain't fucking finished yet, yo. Damn it, yo. Yo, finding out how all of these like houses come to and everything in the, yo. This is a fucking amazing, yo. Finding out all of these freaking shit. This is really freaking good, man. No, Trink Bell, you actually gave me the freaking advice to freaking like watch this video, and this was extremely helpful, knowing like everything pertaining to like the whole of Westeros, because all of the freaking houses basically ruled in like, you know, I ain't gonna say harmonies, like freaking all of the houses ruled, and then freaking Arryn Targaryen, and my boy freaking come and just fuck up everything. My boy changed everything, yo. So that's basically why Viserys was wanting to, I'm the rightful fucking heir for the freaking throne. And he oh shit, man, this is freaking sick. But we didn't get to see like the freaking thing for the Dothraki, man. And maybe like after we'll get to freaking find out, because Westeros was basically one region by itself and there's other freaking regions. So eventually we'll get to find out about every single thing, man. Yo, thank you so much, guys, for being here, man, and watching the video with me. Oh my goodness gracious, I appreciate it. I most definitely appreciate everything. So I'm gonna see you guys in season 2 when I post. I can't tell you exactly when, because, you know, I'm a busy guy. So have a wonderful day, guys. Have a wonderful day. Peace out.